What's up, brothers? Hope everyone's doing well out there. It's another chilly night out here. I think it's about 18 degrees. It feels a lot cooler than that, though. But we won't let that stop us. As long as I don't get the green screen of doom on the camera, I'll keep coming out here and making videos and shooting the shit with you guys. And what I want to talk about in tonight's video is a subject that a lot of people have requested, but I think I'm going to go in a different direction than where they wanted me to go with it. And a lot of people wanted me to, talk about the trend of women on TikTok and some of the things that they're saying. And there's a lot of channels out there like Alexander Grace. I think he's probably the biggest one, but there's plenty of channels out there that react to women of TikTok, delusional takes from women on TikTok. And I have to be honest with you guys, when I saw this trend taking place, and furthermore, when I saw men of the manosphere and, dating and relationships, content creators making videos reacting to these women, I didn't think it would stick. I didn't think that men were this gullible, but it did stick. So, anyways, as we get into that, I want to tell a quick story. Not necessarily a story, a history lesson of television. How many of you guys remember the Lifetime Movie Network? The Lifetime Movie Network was a television station on cable that made movies for single women. And all of these movies basically had the same plot, the same storyline. And what they had is they had a female victim and a male perpetrator. And typically a storyline that you may see on Lifetime Movie Network might be something like a woman has finally left her narcissistic, abusive ex-boyfriend after he cheated on her for the 6th time. And he ended up going to jail. And now he's getting out of jail and he's coming back to stalk her. And he's coming back to ruin her life. But the sex was so good. So she's still sometimes thinking about, it's just like the dumbest over-the-top plots. A male perpetrator and a female victim. And usually by the time the movie ended, the male perpetrator would usually have justice served to him in some way, shape, or form. So the woman would be the victor in the end of the movie. Now the producers, writers, and directors of these movies had struck gold because women became addicted to these movies. Mostly single middle-aged women became addicted to these movies because it played on their maladaptive revenge fantasy that they had for men. Because most of the women watching these movies were women that had been divorced, women that had maybe had children by a giga chad that pumped and dumped them and left them high and dry, or something of that nature, right? So the audience that they were reaching out to were women who had been hurt in the past, who had been through a lot of shit with men, and it was just a maladaptive revenge fantasy that they could experience. They could empathize with the character, feel all the highs and lows, all the sadness and depression, and the triumph in the end. And, women would just eat this shit up. Of course, men would watch it and say, this has got to be the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. I don't know of any men out there that would watch a Lifetime movie and think like, wow, this is a fucking brilliant movie here. This is right up there with Shawshank Redemption, let me tell you. No, they were ridiculous movies, right? But again, they were successful because they played on a woman's maladaptive revenge fantasy. All the heartbreak, all the hard times she had been through with men, watching these movies would help her cope. So that leads me to this trend of women on TikTok and men reacting to women on TikTok. Now, a typical female TikToker that's, talking about quote unquote manosphere related topics, typically she's going to upload a video maybe in the lines of like, she dumps her normie boyfriend for a Giga Chad, and Giga Chad leaves her, pumps her and dumps her, and now she wants her normie boyfriend back, but he won't take her. Something like that. Or, you'll see a female TikToker say something in the lines of, women have the right to be afraid of men, and there should be at least one night a week where men have a curfew. Or something like that, right? Just something ridiculous, over the top. Stuff that clearly is not reality, right? Completely fictitious stories. Now, women of TikTok have struck gold with these videos because there's a lot of men out there that have a maladaptive revenge fantasy for women. And a lot of men out there, most men out there, have been through one of these two experiences. One of them is totally justified. The other is kind of immature and stupid, but most men have gone through one of these two experiences. Experience number one. Maybe at a young age, you were dating a girl, and you just thought the two of you were perfect together, inseparable. You just thought that you had it, right? And somewhere along the line, she dumped you, and you can call it monkey branching, hypergamy, whatever you want to call it. But she dumped you for a guy that she perceived as a better guy, a better option. And when a man experiences that, he'll try to cope and justify it in his head. He'll think he was the better guy, he was the better option, and, she's making a terrible decision. Whatever, right? He'll think of whatever he has to think of in his head, but most guys have experienced that. Before we get to experience number two, the maladaptive revenge fantasy that men have from that experience is that she will get impregnated, pumped and dumped. She'll be a single mom at 32 years old. She'll hit the wall. She'll no longer be attractive. And she will take a major L. Men develop that sort of a maladaptive revenge fantasy about women. So anything that insinuates that could be true, or that is a trend that takes place, that's going to get a lot of attention from men. And women of TikTok kind of put that sort of shit out there, right? And they know they're playing on men's emotions. They know that they're getting millions of views. They're getting sponsorship deals from makeup companies, from pre-workout companies, because most of these girls are hot. But they're getting a lot of money off saying outlandish, crazy shit, and men are eating it up. It's crazy. But anyways, experience number two, and this one's justified, and I actually feel for these guys. But this is a guy who was married, maybe had a couple of kids with a woman, was working his ass off, really doing his best to take care of his family, did his best to treat his wife well, did everything he was supposed to do. But one day she just decided that he wasn't hot enough or some shit like that, right? Or he wasn't rich enough. So she dumps him and she leaves him for a better guy. But in that situation, it's a divorce, it's alimony. He lost his house, lost his kids, he's paying child support, so on and so forth. So guys like that, it makes sense that they would develop some sort of a maladaptive revenge fantasy. It really does make sense. I can see that. But nonetheless, I don't think it's good for people's mental health to kind of live in that fantasy land. You know, there were a lot of women that spent 25 years of their lives watching Lifetime movies. You know, thinking men were the villains. Thinking they would never find another relationship. And they just went out there, went to work, came home, watched their Lifetime movies. It was strange, but it happened. A lot of women did that. And there's a lot of young men now that are wasting their primes, wasting their 20s and their 30s, watching videos about how delusional and how bad and how crazy modern women are. Some of them might be crazy. That might be true. But wasting your time watching videos from women who are simply using you for views. You're no different than a simp if you're doing that. You might as well be watching OnlyFans or something. You know, these women of TikTok, if you want to know their strategy, you know, you kind of have to think about the way women are. If you grew up with sisters or anything like that, you would kind of understand. I had 2 sisters. My older sister had a lot of friends, and they were a couple years older than me. One of her friends used to always screw around with me because she liked to annoy me. She liked to piss me off. Yeah, looking back, she might have just been flirting a little, but she liked to piss me off. She liked to annoy me. She would do things like put her foot in my face. Like, I'd be watching a movie and she would like shove her foot in my face and laugh at me, right? Things like that, just like dumb, immature shit, right? But she liked doing it because it pissed me off. And when she pissed me off, it was like she got attention out of it, right? Like I would say shit to her, mean shit, right? And she would think it was funny because she got to annoy me. She was getting attention, so on and so forth, right? Well, women of TikTok are doing the same thing to grown men. They're making videos that they know you'll find annoying, that they know will trigger you, and they know it will get them more attention. So it blows my mind that so many guys out there take this shit seriously. Me personally, like, every time I see one of those viral TikTok videos about, like, whatever, dating and relationships, and the woman is, like, being an obvious villain of the story, and the man is an obvious victim, I can tell just by watching it, by their behaviors, by where the microphones are placed, the quality of the video. I can tell if it's fictitious or if it's real. And I'd say about 99.9% of the time they're fictitious. But men out there believe them. Blows my mind. But, you know, it is what it is. I don't know. I just wanted to share that with you guys. I don't want to run on too long because the cold weather is causing the battery to drop pretty quickly. And it could just shut off on me at any given time. So I think I'm going to go ahead and shut this one off before I lose the footage. I hope this video was somewhat informative and somewhat enjoyable. And I'll be back again, maybe later on in the week, to shoot the shit with you guys one more time. That's about it for tonight, guys. Until next time, see ya.